Meantime, parents in a Maryland school district upset over curriculum on family life and sexuality, saying that the language is just too adult for younger students. The National Desk Brad Bell shows us a group of Frederick County School Board candidates planning to take action.
They call themselves the Education Not Indoctrination slate, running for the Frederick County School Board, and they say the curriculum standards for elementary age children are exactly why they're getting involved.
We don't teach children kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade calculus and physics. Why do we want to talk to them about obscene things that we wouldn't show anybody else?
The policy actually is age inappropriate for a K through 3. Yep. And it's not giving the parents an option.
What has them upset is the language contained within the Maryland Comprehensive Health Education Framework under the grade-by-grade standards listed for family life and human sexuality. It requires children in pre-K to, quote, recognize that there are different types of families. Examples: single parent, same gender, intergenerational, blended, interracial, adoptive, foster, etc. For kindergarten students, they should be able to identify different types of families.
What 5-year-old or 6-year-old wants to learn about that or even questions that? They want to color inside the lines.
School Board President Brad Young says a final policy on what will be taught and how is 6 to 9 months away, and parents will be heard on the matter.
I think our local board has the option of looking at something as simple as saying, not all families look the same. Some families may have a mom and a dad. Some may just have a mom or just a dad. Some could have 2 dads or 2 moms.
Now, the Frederick County School Board will be holding its regular meeting this Wednesday, 6 p.m., and it is expected to be crowded with those opposing the new curriculum.
That was Brad Bell reporting. And now to discuss this brewing debate among parents and school districts across the country, we turn to Erika Sanzi. She's a director of outreach for Parents Defending Education. Erika, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Let's start with that issue in Maryland we just heard there. The Comprehensive Health Education Framework there states that students in pre-K should, quote, recognize that there are different types of families, such as a single parent, same gender, intergenerational, blended, interracial, adoptive, foster, etc. So, Erika, some parents and school administrators argue that teaching these lessons at a young age benefits the student. It allows them to have a well-rounded view of the world. What do you say to those people who are advocating for this type of curriculum?
There's reason to be concerned because we have seen sort of where this leads, right? This is the beginning of gender ideology in schools. Sesame Street used to do this very well because they were able to teach children that families look different, they come in all types, people are different, and they spoke about the importance of kindness. And they spoke about the importance of never being cruel. I don't understand why the school systems increasingly feel the need to get into this, what really ultimately ends up being critical gender theory at such a young age. It's not age appropriate. And if you look at what will happen in these standards going into first and second grade, again, it gets much more technical and specific, and it gets much more ideological.
Let me ask, what is so sensitive about this topic? If you're saying that Sesame Street broached the topic, was that wrong for them to do it as well? Or is it how it's being done? Help me understand.
I think it's how it's being done, and I'm not speaking about Sesame Street in 2022 because I don't know how they do it now. I'm talking about what they used to do, which was they never bombarded young children with topics that were beyond their age and their ability to understand, but they were able to make sure children knew that people are different and families are different. So I do think that does have a place.
If they were to teach that in the school, that would be okay with you and your organization, that there are different types of families?
Well, yes, that would be fine.
Okay. All right. So Maryland does allow for parents to opt out. So if they believe that it maybe goes too far, right, they could opt out. Are you seeing other states do this? And do you think that's the right way to approach this? You can just opt out, or do you want to see this completely banned out of our schools?
It depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about telling first graders and second graders that they need to be able to define gender identity, if they're being taught the pseudoscience of that the doctor, guesses what your biological sex is in the delivery room and sometimes gets it wrong. It should not be, it has no place in a K-5 curriculum at all. But And the opting out, I'm unclear of whether or not all families are allowed to opt out of this because it falls under health, which is linked up with PE, that's usually mandated. And the other thing I would say is that opt-outs have been very difficult for parents in a lot of places between the they find out about it the last second, the transparency is not there, and then the parents find the opt-out process to be difficult and sort of hard to navigate.
So let's talk about another state, because this is happening in multiple places. Some parents objecting to New Jersey's new health and sexual education curriculum. That's going to be taught in schools there starting in September. Now, I was reading the instruction material for second graders. Okay, these are 7-year-olds, roughly 7 or 8. It includes the identification of genitals, sexual organs. But to be clear, it does not talk about sex. It does not talk about the use of these organs for reproduction. As far as their use, it only describes the function in eliminating waste. So what's your take on this? Why is this too sensitive a topic for kids?
Because that lesson also talks about how most girls have these genitals, but some girls have these other ones. This lesson in particular in grade 2.
And you disagree with that?
Yes, it totally sows confusion. I mean, these are children who believe in Santa Claus and leave notes for the tooth fairy. Mm-hmm. This is the deliberate confusion of young children in the name of gender ideology, so no question.
What if there was a child in that class who maybe was on the birth certificate it says boy, has boy genitalia, but feels like a little girl, and little kids might have these feelings. You don't think there's any benefit to somebody telling that child, hey, it's okay, you can have this, feel this way and have this body part?
Well, I think now we're talking about two different things. One, we're talking about curriculum for every single student, right? That becomes the default, versus what you're describing is a class where there may be a child who has some sort of gender dysphoria or presents as transgender. And in that case, yes, that class often does have to have, again, some sort of age-appropriate conversation where the schools and the parents have consulted on how that's going to be presented.
All right, these are controversial topics. If they weren't, we wouldn't be having these discussions. So Erika Sanzi, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you sharing your opinions with us.
Thanks for having me.